Disney, what do you see in Disney? Why do most people sleep on Disney? Or they don't see the beautiful things they did in the past?
I literally can't. Actually, I know exactly why. People aren't disciplined. So I'll walk. If I say to you, hey, I'm going to go see a Warner Brothers movie, you know nothing about it. Could be uplifting, could be tragic, could be heartbreaking, a horror film, who knows, right? Could be anything. Yeah. But if I say I'm going to go see a Disney movie, you know something about it. I don't have to tell you anything else. I'm going to go see a Disney movie. You already know something. So he being Walt Disney, understood that they had to stand for something, that the brand Disney, in and of itself, had to stand for something. And it can't just be quality, right? So everybody's going to say that. Well, it stands for quality. Quality what? So he really understood that it needed to be, and this isn't the language he would use, I don't think, but the magic of childhood, right? Just capturing that thing that we all feel as kids. Whether you're a child or an adult, you can all relate to that magic of those like simple, beautiful moments in life. Yeah. And they captured that in the brand ethos, maintained that for a very long time. Then buying Pixar was a no-brainer. There was so much, connection between the two in terms of their ethos and the way that they work and the type of product that they put out. That was a no-brainer. But then the other thing that they do is they're looking at all the culturally relevant intellectual property out there that can be merchandised, and they buy it. So buying Marvel was one of the smartest things they've ever done. Buying Star Wars was amazingly smart. And they've been using, since the 1930s, they've been using a total merchandising strategy, which means Disney sees their primary sources of revenue, not the piece of art that you create, but the merchandising that you sell around it. So it's what I'll call the shout and echo model. So the movie is the shout, the merchandising is the echo, and it's the echo that makes the money. So looking at that and knowing that from a technological standpoint, we're now moving into an era where things can be made on demand, you don't have to have the inventory risk. So here I am thinking, how do you build a studio in the modern era? You've got social media, it can be done essentially for free. Certainly the distribution of it can be done for free. You've got the opportunity to merchandise, which you can do for basically you don't pay until you make it. So it's perfect. You're paying out of cash flows, which is just an incredible place to be. And I think that that's going to happen to more and more pieces of the industry as 3D printing comes down in cost, becomes more ubiquitous, can print in more materials. Like that's just going to get more and more interesting. So now, because what I wanted was, when I look at, okay, if I'm going to compete with Disney or I'm going to compete with Sony, Warner Brothers, all that, they're willing to throw $200 million at a tentpole film. Like that's crazy. Like how do you compete with that? So, and I think in the next 7 years, one of the major studios is going to go under because you miss 2 or 3 times in a row and you're done. Like that's it, you just go out of business. So I think they're making way too big of risks in a time where, do you know who E.L. James is?
Sounds familiar.
50 Shades of Grey.
Okay, yeah,
the author.
The author, yeah.
She had 5 million readers before she published the book. Think about that for a second. 5 million readers before she ever published the book. That's insane. Like this never happened before. There's no way to do it. So she went on a website, wrote it all on this fan fiction website, got a huge following, and then she went to a publisher and said, would you like to publish my book that has 5 million followers? The only answer is yes, of course we would, right? And that book has sold some just ungodly number of copies. So that puts us in a position where as content creators, if you're trying to be a studio, if you're trying to be something bigger than a multi-level or a multi-channel network, I think you're just looking for virality. You need to give your community an ethos. So going back to Disney understanding that the brand ethos has to stand for something. So my new company, Impact Theory, it stands for something, right? It's going from pulling someone out of the matrix, going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And it's hero's journey from 1,000 different directions, right? I can tell 1,000 different stories, but it's all that same uplifting transition of going from that fixed mindset to the growth mindset. So that's how we want to feed into that, but we want to do it by going out to the community with that ethos, asking them to submit ideas. We then filter the ideas, make sure that they make sense with the brand ethos, give them back to the community for them to actually create real properties, which then come back to us, and we look for the virality in that. So there's a technology layer that we're working on now that hopefully in the next year we'll have ready that'll allow us to gamify that sort of interaction back and forth with the different ideas and properties and things like that.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.